really good. So, more and more changes are coming in. We're not going to be playing an RPG today because I have whatever fucked my wife up last week, which I have now nicknamed my wife's boyfriend. But we do have a lot to talk about because, oh man, some angry people out there, like, you know what I mean? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Yes, we will. I will be taking like a half day today just to, well, I won't not work, but I won't be streaming because I'm very dizzy. Sitting in front of the PC all day just sounds like that would make things worse. Haha, that would make things super, super worse, which would be a bad idea. So let's not do that. Let's not do that because we have Blizzcon tomorrow, and we want to be on top form for that. So let's do it that way. That sounds good for me. Let's put this on. Let's jump down here. Let's have a look at the old chubness here. The source of all hatred in the world. Let's look at old chubness here. It's not COVID. No, no, no. My wife had some giga flu last week. I had to take a day off. She had to stay in bed. I assume it's now festered within my soul and has come to destroy me. And come to wreck me. Right, let's take a quick look before we jump into anything serious. That we have the Valor Point stuff, and it looks like it's really, really expensive. Like, super, super expensive. Let's go over here. These are the changes that are coming there. Hold on, I have the other one. Somewhere I put it. Did I close it? Maybe it did, Graz. Because I'm an idiot. Where's the Valor one? Can you post the Valor one again? Thufir, you approve? I thought you might. I thought you might. More people. I'm going to be called. I've got that character called Thufir. I have no doubt I'm going to get called some sort of fanboy when the new movie comes out. I'm going to have to change the name to not go with that. Let's head over to Wowhead before we look at these spell changes. Thank you very much, Chris. Right, so this system, I don't know. What's our first impressions of this? So we've got, it's actually on the PTR now. This is probably something I will look at today if I'm not streaming, is go and have a mess around with this. Hopefully I can find a group from Mythic Plus. Okay. We have more details. More details about the Valor Point system in 9.05 that have been added. There are 14 ranks. That's a lot of ranks. But I think that matches up pretty well with the PvP stuff. Rank 12 is 220. So now we do have the thing that we were looking for when we logged in, which is the upgrade level of the items. Now, the annoying part about this is we still have to get the items again. Which is the hardest part of getting items out of M+, is actually getting the item, which is the big pain in the ass. Obviously, the higher you get it to start with, it's going to save you a huge amount of points, it looks like. So we've got these barriers. This you should start working on when you get some free weeks, if you're looking to use the Valor Point system. Now, let's upgrade to next ranks. You must pay an amount of Valor Points with the cost depending on the item type. Unfortunately, we weren't able to determine which items correspond to the Valor Point values at this moment. The possible values to upgrade an item by 1 rank, 3 or 4 item levels. So you get 3 or 4 item levels. 250, 400, 475, 500, 750, and 1000. Which will be determined by the type of item you want to upgrade. Based on the current PvP upgrade values, we speculate, but we haven't had it confirmed, that they will probably be like this. Trinkets are probably impossible to predict, as some of the M+ trinkets are very powerful. 250 for offhands, 400 for wrist, cloaks, rings, and necks. 475 for boots, gloves, shoulders, and belts. 500 Valor for melee one-handed weapons, shields, chest, helms, and legs. 750 for intellect one-handers. 1,000 for Valor. 1,000 Valor for two-handed weapons. And there's a cap. Okay, there's a 1,500 cap. You can't see. Hold on, let me show you guys. Can't see. There we go. There's a 1,500 cap per week. Oh, no, the weekly cap is 750. Okay, the weekly cap is 750 and you can have a total of 1,500. So there's a max cap. A weekly cap of 750, which means if you have a two-hander, you can't upgrade it once per week. Yeah, okay. This means that for the priciest items, which will likely correspond to two-handed weapons, you would only be able to upgrade it 2 out of 3 weeks. Remember that the data mining suggests that one rank is only 3 or 4 item levels, so this could take quite a long time for some of the priciest items. Well, that's only for one item. Yeah, that's only for one item. So if you're doing your entire armor set, if you're like a non-raider and you don't like PvP, so most of your gear comes from M+, that's a lot of Valor Points to get up to 220, which... It's arguable whether that's high enough or not. Obviously, it's being compared to PvP.
Power up.
The Valor Point upgrade charts. 250 Valor Point upgrades.
Yeah, sex would be good exercise if I could last more than 5 seconds.
Thank you. Let me silence those for now. That'd be a smart idea. Thank you very much, Cassavere. Thank you. The Fury Life with 2 two-handers. Indeed. Indeed. The weapons are important. So... In order to get past 207, you're going to need Mythic 5 or higher on everything. And in order to get to 210 and 213, you're going to need Mythic 10 or higher. That's quite the leap. That's quite the leap. Now, a good argument I've heard about this is typically you need higher than 220, or certainly if you're trying to solo it, that an item level of 220 or higher is preferable or likely needed, as of yesterday's video, for sure, to even get into these levels of dungeons. Which I think is a legitimate argument right now. There's a lot of people are requiring higher... Now, that doesn't mean you can't upgrade some of your stuff, but like there's a very high chance that you're kind of not benefiting too much from this, which is a bit of a problem they probably need to look at. Yeah, it does feel that way. Is that people doing the 15s, at least in my experience, the people doing or queuing for 40s or 15s are 220 and above already. Now, that doesn't mean they've got overall, you know, they're not going to get some benefit from it. But it's definitely questionable at that point. You can certainly maximize gear, so there is that element of it as well. 400 Valor Point upgrades. Yeah. 500, 750. 750 a time. 1,000 pallet book upgrades. So, what are our initial thoughts here? One, that seems very expensive to get to 220. Now, that's a lot of dungeons. It's a lot of dungeons. Now, you can get Valor from callings and things like that, but it's a huge amount of time. Oh, thank you very much, Casper. Thank you so much. Is it account-wide? It should be, because the achievement is account-wide. You don't have to do all of these on one character to get Keystone Master. You can do it across alts and things like that. So I would assume that it is. I would be surprised if you... Like, I would expect that my characters who have this can already upgrade to 220, rather than have to do... That would be pretty awful if you had to do it across alts. Yeah, well, you got to remember, this is more for Season 2. The same as the raid loot drops that we talked about, they're more primarily for Season 2. If the Valor cap is 750, it sounds like it'll take months to upgrade weapons a little bit. It depends where you're starting from, right? So if you're unlucky, and you got a low-level weapon, and nothing has dropped for you doing 15s. This is assuming we have to go into a kind of fantasy world here, right? Where you only do M+. Hey, Zosis. Love to see you, dude. Let's say you got your weapon from, I don't know, Mythic 10 or something like that. To get it to 220, it's a couple of months at least to get it up to 220. But you are getting there. That's the point. The main point of this is to make you not feel like you're not getting anything for running dungeons. Right? That's the primary goal. You don't think it's going to be account-wide? See, I feel the other way. I feel it should be account-wide. We can test that. I can test that today. I can test that to see if that is the case. Let me make a note to make sure. If it's not account-wide, I mean, that sounds awful to me. Like, absolutely awful. Yeah, the mount's account-wide. The achievement is account-wide. I would imagine it is account-wide. Yeah. If it wasn't account-wide, I think the system is beyond dead already. Right? It shouldn't be account-wide? Why? Why not? Why? What's wrong with somebody upgrading their gear? Like, genuinely. I mean, it's a long, slow process regardless, right? It's a long, slow process regardless. Same as PvP gear. I see what you're saying, but I also think Mythic Plus is so much more awkward in terms of getting stuff. Because PvP still has the advantage of choosing your items, which is enormous, right? It can't be understated how enormous it is to get to choose your stuff. Well, you can't do that in M+. You can't do that. You've like, if you're most of us have been there. I would assume a lot of us have been there where you're after that item. And it's not it's just not appeared. Even if you run that dungeon, I mean, we could look at the legendary recipes as well, like before they get to change those, as to how bad they were to get in some cases. My main thinking on it is, rather than getting into the technicalities, is this achievement is account wide, which is the unlock barrier. The unlock barrier is account wide. So they would kind of have to go out of their way to say, well, that doesn't count for that character. Will the raids of Vault give Valor? Don't know. Don't know. Yeah, the achievement, the barrier of achievement is account wide. Account wide is probably why you can't get all the way to 226. Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. There's good arguments for both sides of that. I suspect it is account wide. If you have to do all 15s on every single alt, I can't imagine people being okay with that. That's a lot. That is a fucking lot. Especially if the achievement is account wide. They're going to be like, well, what the fuck, bro? That would suck. Especially if we're talking about, I mean, realistic, we're talking about the difference between being able to go to 213 or 220 with a huge amount of Valor needed to even do that. Because you need a lot. You need a hell of a lot. This is to supplement the vault. That's all this is for. That's what I'm reading. This is just to supplement the vault. As they said in their first post, the vault should be the quick upgrade, right? And this is to supplement that, so you're not doing what I've done, and I assume many of you have done as well, which is like 10 Mythic Pluses and got absolutely nothing for it. Which is, you know, it's 8+ hours of gameplay in a lot of cases. And got 0, well, we've got 35 anima, of course, you know, the old meme. We got 35 anima out of it, but you're running like 10 or 350 anima. You're running all those dungeons and getting bog all for doing 8 hours of gameplay, which, you know, is not fun for anybody. That's not good. We'll have to check. Am I not seeing here how much Valor drops per dungeon? Did I not see that? It's in another post. Okay. Let's look over here then. So we got some more tuning going. So Flagellation has been reworked again. What was the original spell called? I don't remember. It wasn't called Flagellation. They added this in at the end. Oh, so the new one is you lash the target for... I am thinking of getting my rogue going. Slaughter, yeah. Slaughter poison. Deadly poison. Just copy and pasted. Slaughter poison, that was the one. Lash the target for 50% of attack power, shadow damage, causing each combo point spent within that 12 seconds to lash for additional attack power. Dealing damage with Flagellation increases your haste, persisting for 12 seconds after the torment fades. Okay. Nice and simple. The following spells have buffed unless otherwise noted. Unbound Chaos, Wild Growth, Renewing Mist, Divine Hymn. I was just going to say, do they buff resto damage? Stonekeeper, Lavlash. And Malefic Rapture was retuned again. All of these Legos have been buffed. What did Hunter get? Oh, what does it matter? The Hunter ones are boring anyway. Anyone else feel that way? It doesn't matter if they buff their effects, they're still boring. Yeah, I was going to say, if they buffed Resto Shaman damage, that would be pretty funny. Have they left Holy Pallies alone? Seems so. I wonder what the goal is with this. What do you think the goal is with this? With so many Legos. I look at it a bit like Azerite Power, right? Considering it's not like Legion, like it was understandable in Legion because they were a random drop. So people were stuck with certain legendaries that were aka garbage, right? It is a kind of way of spec balancing it, but across so many... It doesn't really create gameplay variance in a lot of cases, though. Like, in a lot of cases, it doesn't particularly create... Like, Bestial Wrath is active, your pet's crit damage is increased by 40%. Barb Shot deals 10% increased damage. Applying Barb Shot now also resets the cooldown of kill command. It's not big gameplay changes. Oh, Surging Shots. Nice. I think it's just to generate demand for Torghast. I don't see a way, certainly after what we've seen recently with how all of you guys go to what, and including myself in that, how all of you guys go to whatever is best. The final result of something like this feels to me like you're just going to swap your Lego to whichever is the best now, right? It'd be nice if it was gameplay variants and stuff like that, but I don't see it going any other way than which one's best as the best legendary changed. And I'm sure that's the question we're going to get asked a lot and will be heavily prevalent in the Twitch chats of various streamers over the next while is this still our best Lego? If not, can we get something else? Or if it's not, is it, oh, we take Flame Walkers now, right? You would get more Legos? Why? Unless you don't care about min-maxing, you just want to try other Legos. Again, a lot of them don't do gameplay, though. Like, if they were all big gameplay changes, I would be right on board with that. But a lot of them are not. Some of them are, for sure. It's never a hot and cold thing, you know? There's various stages in between. It would be nice to say, I really want X Lego, and I wish it wasn't shit. It's still nice to see there's more choices. I'm not downplaying the system by any means. Just curious what they're hoping to get out of the legendary system. It'd be nice when we could wear 2. I imagine that's going to be 9.2 or 9.3. When we could wear 2 legendaries. Some of these combos with 2 legendaries are going to be so fun. So fun. You can almost tell that a lot of the legendaries were decided based on eventually having 2. Because they combo together so nicely. Yeah, 2 Legos will be the play when that happens. I think they were designed... It's a good idea. I think they were designed from the ground up that eventually you'd have 2. Because the pairings on some of them are really wacky. Okay, hitting an enemy player counts as double. Freezing wins. Oof. Oh, it's going to be dirty. It's going to be so dirty. Yeah, it's nothing fun in, like, the Meteor one. We've already played with that in Legion. The Meteor one is not fun. Oh, it procced. Woo! I mean, you can hold it for a second, I suppose, but, I mean, not even really. You're going to hold back a combustion cooldown or something like that? Maybe. Rare occasions, you're probably going to do that. What do you think about PI? I think the PI Lego should either be baseline or make it castable yourself. I think PI is toxic as fuck. I think it's so toxic. I'm surprised we've even gone down the road of PI again. After we did this. We said this during the alpha. Like, why are we going down this road again? We went down this road with Dark Intent and it fucking sucked. But at the same time, it sucks if you're like a serious raider, right? It's a really fun spell, though. I just feel bad for any... I feel bad for those Shadow Priests who are getting, like, prodded and poked to give it to somebody else, right? Like, that's where it sucks. That's where it's not fun. If the spell for the... Because even when I was a Warlock and I was giving Dark Intent away, I still got the benefit, right? So the original Dark Intent still worked for me. Like, PI doesn't without the Legendary. And even then, it still fucking sucked, man. Just listening to people ask for it and moan about it. But at the same time, it is fucking fun. It's fun. And I've been very happy that some of the Shadow Priests, like Raven, have been giving me PI in dungeons. And it is really fun to have. Like, is this undeniably fun? Is it fun for the other player? I don't know. Not really. Do you want to give up a legendary slot just so you can buff somebody else? Not really. Not really. Like, it's generally a bad thing. I don't like PI. I don't like it. But, I mean, I assume the guys who are getting, like, 6 PIs a run, they're having a good time. A good change would make it baseline so it goes on yourself. That would be cool. That would be very, very cool. Right, Shambler. Some nice change there. I'll have to see how this... I kind of want to see how many are dropping. What, has anyone got the post where it says how many Valas are dropping per Donga? Like, how much effort is it to get the cap? Because, of course, we need to min-max that, right? Is it efficient to run 7s or something? Will this populate the lower dungeons? Maybe. Yes, we will be doing a watch party for BlizzCon. We will be here from 10 all the way through till about... I think it's scheduled to finish all the World of Warcraft stuff around I think it's about 10 past midnight here. We'll check that. Yeah, 10 past 12. So they've done all the World of Warcraft stuff back to back, which is nice. Cool. That's good stuff. So we will be doing the whole thing from the opening ceremony all the way to, I think it's the deep dive or the what's next panel is the last one they're doing. Here we go. We can take a look here. There we go. So we've got the opening ceremony. This is in my time, so 10 p.m. So we'll be starting probably like, I don't know, 9. We'll probably have a bit of a chill before that. It is Friday after all, but I will be streaming for like 8 hours before this happens, so I will take some break between then, before we come back. So it will be... We'll do that, and then they're immediately going into the World of Warcraft What's Next. And then they're doing the World of Warcraft deep dive. So you can see this one finishes at 20 to 12, and then they're immediately doing the deep dive. So we'll be going right through till there. There's not much the next day. There's the Q&A, which is always really hit and miss, so I don't think we're going to stream that. And then the other one is something to do with story stuff and sound creation, and then the cooking thing. I wouldn't mind the cooking thing if we could have done a cook-along, which is Chris's suggestion, that we do a cook-along with the Blizzard devs, but we obviously don't know what they're going to be making. That makes it very difficult. That makes it very difficult to prepare for whatever they could be cooking. So we won't be doing that. Anyway, so yesterday, let's get this conversation going, because I really did want to have this debate, is we did... let's be clear on what we talked about yesterday, because it got heavily ignored by a lot of people on this Rated.io subject. So, let's be really clear about what our message was before we get into what people thought they or wanted to hear, I think is more realistic. Is we did suspect that Rated.io was the dominant force behind getting into groups. However, Finn noticed when he did his fresh thing is that his Rated.io wasn't really carrying him too much. Was it item level? How much of a prevalence was item level? So we did talk about this in the intro to the video, but again, it kind of got ignored. So it led us to run a little test. That was what we did yesterday. We did a little YOLO test because we were... Oh, we did it the other day, actually. We did it like 4 days ago. We did a little YOLO test just to see what the story was, right? Just to double check. I think that's the purpose of us doing these things. Well, let's find out. Because, as I said in the intro video, it would have been really nice if we could have come out and said, Actually, the rated.io problem is, or the rated.io subject that we see so often on forums and on, you know, discussion sites, on subreddits and things like that, isn't that big of a deal until you get to the higher things. Like, obviously, at the higher you go, the more prevalent it would become. So maybe if you work on your character from whatever you enjoy, be it PvP, raiding, whatever, then that buys you some leeway up there. And it's actually a bit more flexible than we would assume it is. Shockingly, it wasn't. Now, the shocking part to us is just how prevalent it was, especially in the lower bracket. So if you didn't see this video yet, what we did is a very quick... yeah, that was the bizarre one. Honestly, how do you not know this? We did. That's the opening of the video. We did suspect that was the case. So we had the guys make 2 characters. Oh, they already had 2 characters, but we modified them. So we upgraded Nupss to 220, but had a rated.io of 163. And then we used Finn's Ret Paladin, who's done a lot more PvE, who had 215 item level, but a rated.io of 1019. Why Ret Paladin? That's what we had. It was literally like, what do we have that both of us have? What do we have that both of us have? That 2 people in the team have. Well, Finn and Nupss have Ret Paladins. It was literally that. We were just curious. We were just curious what was happening, essentially. So that's what we had. So we used these Ret Paladins where the IO is different. And of course, Finn's main IO was 1442 on his monk. So when we were talking about this in our little group meeting, we were like, our thinking on this was anybody using rated.io would pick Finn 100% of the time, right? That was what we thought about it. And so let's find out, because what I was hoping to see is that there would be a mix of people who would prefer to take a stronger player and some people who would use rated.io more seriously. So we would see a lean towards Finn, for sure. Like, we knew that was going to happen beforehand. But not completely ignoring the higher item level Paladin when given the choice between 2. That's what we were looking to see. So, first of all, it was very interesting is that when it got to... This was 14s to 15s. None of them got in. Like, that was fucking hilarious. Like, we were laughing about this so much. It's just like, nope, not happening. What are you? A Ret Paladin who isn't 220, with a higher rated.io? Not happening. Like, you are not getting invited and just were universally shot into the ground. So that was where we were like, we need to check out how powerful the meta is. Like, is it as powerful as the results we got today? Because we thought this was kind of interesting, that there was just no fucking way. Like, Finn should have got in here, agreed, for 14 15s. 215s is low compared to what people are queuing for there. Just leads us back to the Valor conversation we just had. But 100% denial. Which then, the one invite that we did get was on Nupss at 220. Clearly, this was the one guy not using rated.io, right? This is clearly what this was. And there was a 220 item level, ergo, I'm inviting that guy. So, I mean, there's an argument to be made here that, although this was a really small sample size, let's not get crazy, that was done on an afternoon, it was a very YOLO, let's test this thing out. There's an argument to be made that you can prey on getting into non-rated.io groups with just having high item level. However, and I kind of wish that video was out now, but it's not coming out tonight. But I'm going to spoil it for you now. So if you're going to be really upset about what happens in a TDP, just quiet your ears for a minute, okay? At the end of the last TDP that we did with Nupss on... I think that came out on Tuesday, I think. I want to say. Chris, is that right? It came out on Tuesday. We finished that dungeon talking about... I wonder what's going on in, like, the 10s and 9s. Because, obviously, with the Great Vault and things like that, and for YouTube audiences, the higher the better that we run. So we were like, okay, I wonder what happens in the 10s and 9s. Shall we go and find out? Now, this was a twofold idea. One, people get really, really pissed that we do TDP, which, remember, is full pugs. It's me and Finn, for the most part, and then just complete pug groups. The accusation is that we carry those dungeons so hard that there's no way we can fail. That's one of the accusations, because of gear, right? Gear carries those dungeons so hard, of course you guys don't fail them. Now, in the TDP we did with Nupss, he had no gear, right? He's on his PvP geared warlock, and we still succeeded. And it was fine. In fact, our success rate in doing 15 and 16 pugs, and they are pugs, we do occasionally take friends, but they are full pugs. Pretty much every TDP is a full pug for the most part. But again, we got told we don't pug at all. Like, every TDP is a pug. Is successful. Like, very, very rarely do we fail. And that annoys a lot of people. It really does. And that's when it's you're getting carried by gear and whatnot. Okay. So, yeah, this is the kind of bullshit I have to deal with. It really infuriates me. Because you were under the impression, I have no doubt, that if you take a friend in an MMO to a dungeon, and over 60% of that group is entire strangers, that for some reason it's not a pug anymore. Like, you're insane, dude. You're so fucking insane that it doesn't count or it's disqualified or something. Like, you're crazy. So we tested that. Yeah, it's 60%. It's not a full pug. Like, these are just people. You've seen me invite these people. I just pick whoever appears, like, pretty much as soon as possible. But it doesn't count. You have a friend, therefore you're top tier or something. It really is the most infuriating shit. Like, we can't do a TDP where we share opinions because it's not a full pug. It's a pug, right? And the proof of that is we went to a +10. We finished a 15 in time. In tonight's TDP, we went to a +10. And it is the hardest thing we have ever done in Shadowlands. How many deaths is it? Did we break 50, I think? I think it's 50 odd deaths. It is so far beyond depleted, it's insane. And that it's no more blatant proof that no, 2 DPSs cannot carry a fucking dungeon. Right? It's just not realistic, okay? It's like a 50 death run. And the point we make during this video, again, I'm spoiling it for you, but it's really relevant. And I'm kind of sad it's not out now because we could obviously refer to it. The big discussion that me and Nupss have during that is knowledge is everything. Experience is everything. The reason we wiped so often in that dungeon was nobody knew what was going on. It was nothing really more to it than that. The rest of the group had no idea what the hell was going on. And more importantly, when it did go wrong, they didn't know what had caused it, so they defaulted back to basic stuff. Okay? So, for example, it's a Plaguefall dungeon, and we're doing the Surgeon boss, or whatever he's called, the Hoppy Alchemist guy. And the tank tanked the boss and the little slime next to the exploding slime. We couldn't kill it. So what was the default response from a group who doesn't know why that's happening? Right? What's the default response? What do you think the reason was in that group as to why they wiped? Shit DPS. Bad DPS. Right. And that's what happens. And this is why you can't carry that kind of environment. There's nothing much you can do. Like, it doesn't matter if I can blast if you're going to, you know, reduce the damage. And that's what they said afterwards. And I think it was the healer or something kind of wanted to stop the group at that point. It's like, if we haven't got the DPS to kill that slime, this is pointless. Which is absolutely not what caused that wipe. But nobody else in the group besides me knew why it had happened. So I explained it, one-shot it afterwards, and I loved that. And we talk about it in the video. It's like, this is great. Now the group has learned, right? It's risen. It's gone up. And now they'll never wipe. Those players will not probably wipe to that scenario again unless they get into the same situation. At least that tank now knows 100% what to do there, right? That's a good progress. Now, the problem is, at least as I can see it, the problem is, if you're doing this solo pug thing, which I get like why people do it, but it is the most inefficient way to play this game. And you're not in the trenches, and you're not a hero for doing it, right? You're not. I'm sorry, you're not. If you're intentionally sitting in queues for hours and hours waiting for someone to invite you, that is the most inefficient way of playing World of Warcraft. It is. It's just a really bad way of playing the game rather than finding like a friend. Like, you would rather. It's much better to do that than getting a couple of buddies to do a dungeon with every couple of weeks, or some sort of social guild even. Something where you can talk to the same people regularly and try and get something done. It's a far better use of your time. So we actually joked yesterday we should do a friend how to get a friend video, but it is the case right now. I think it's a fair comment, and I don't think it's elitist or anything. If you are solo queuing higher Mythic Plus keys to boost Raider.io score, you're playing the game in the most inefficient way possible. I can't imagine a less efficient way of playing this game, and a less frustrating way of playing World of Warcraft. Honestly, it's got to be so rough. It's got to be so rough to play that way. It's baffling to me. It really is. It's baffling to me. I was reading those YouTube comments yesterday of people like, I've sat in queues for 4 hours. What are you doing, bro? You have 4 hours to sit in Mythic Plus dungeons. There are so many better things you can do with your time. So many better things. If you're just sat there for hours and hours and hours waiting for somebody to give you a chance, and I read this all the time on MMO Champ, on the official WoW forums, is I'm waiting, the new system needs to be developed that gives me some sort of chance to talk to the leader, to explain my position. Dude, that's not happening. Have you seen how many Mythic Plus dungeons have run every second of every single day in World of Warcraft? It's just not, you're really asking to change the world to suit you in the least realistic way possible. And that's what made me really sad about yesterday. Not that people are angry about it, because that always happens with stuff like this. That's fine. But it's the idea everything should change to suit that. Now, here's where IO comes in. In those higher groups that we pug, they are pugs, the guys know what they're doing, and we generally have an easier time. So in this plus 10, though, where we had people who didn't have that experience, they would have no hope. No hope at all. I have no doubt if we didn't explain, and you could judge yourselves tonight, I have no doubt if I didn't explain what was going wrong on several occasions, that they wouldn't have done the dungeon. It would have fallen apart probably by boss 1, I would guess. I don't think they would have got past boss 1. And that's what's going on there. Now, the other problem here, as far as I can tell, and I could be wrong on this for sure, is that if you are doing this, where you're trying to boost your score, and you're, say, if you're in a scenario right now, where you are trying to boost your score because you are fully aware that an overwhelming percentage, this is what shocked us yesterday, by the way. I know a lot of people thought it was like we didn't know Rated.io was a thing, which we said at the beginning wasn't the case. We were shocked, though, that it was so relevant. Like, so relevant. I did not, that's the bit that shocked us. It was every single group. Regardless, it was every single group. Like, this graph of Finn getting in over Nupss just demonstrates how much of it is. It's the whole system right now. I can't change that. I don't support it, but it is what it is. That's how it is right now. It's every single group. That is just the fact. You know what I mean? That is the fact. It's all of them. And it's even in... Where's the next graph? Find it. I can't see the graph. Can we do it? Where is it? Oh, look at this ugly, hairy man. It's even in the... Did we include the graph? Is it at the end? Yeah. And it's even in the 8s and 9s. Like the sub 10s. Right? So it's absolutely everywhere. That's not me doing that. That's not anything else. It's absolutely everywhere from Mythic Plus beginning. Right? It is. It's absolutely everywhere. I just want gear. Yeah. But just wanting gear needs to have some efficiency to it. Right? It's really is absolutely everywhere. Now, people, this is the thing. It's real cancer. That's a hard one. It is. Because the fact of the matter is, that experience really counts. It really, really counts. It makes a difference. And as we've seen some players return, like Pirowin, my ex-raid leader, great to see him back. He's just come back to Shadowlands. The first thing he said is, my priority is to learn what's going on in the dungeon, because then my success rate will go up massively. Because if long as 1 out of the 5 understands stuff, you have a chance. You have a chance. You're not doing that second boss in Plaguefall if you don't know how that little slime works. You're not doing it. You're never going to get past that. Once it's the point where you can't out DPS that damage reduction, you're not going to get it done. It really is that simple. It's not going to happen. Because you might as well be shooting your dick against a fucking wall. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? It's not. Experience is all that matters. Well, there's levels to it, right? So it's really hard when it's honestly my greatest bane is everything's seen really black and white, and it's not. It's shades of grey, and I think this showed that. Experience matters so much in this bracket, right? 10 to 11, you're not getting... Like, you can outpace if you've got a high-geared character. Like, people get high-geared naturally as the expansion goes on, right? As the tier goes on. It's a very normal thing, although Shadowlands has definitely skewed that. We talked about it last week. But here, you can kind of out-DPS, out-heal, out-tank your lack of knowledge. Right? You can do that. In this level, you can do that. In here, as we demonstrate in tonight's video, you can't do that anymore, right? Once you come up against the wall of knowledge that can't just be blitzed, you're fucked. Like, you are hard stuck here. If you don't know what's going on, you are pretty much hard stuck around here. And if you are getting past that and you don't have any knowledge, the likelihood is the other 4 in the group did know what was going on. So you had, say... In that Plaguefall example, your tank knew what to do. So you could just hit whatever. Right? And it was fine. Everybody else did it for you. That's just what happens. If you have very little knowledge and you're getting past here, the likelihood is the rest of the group is doing it for you. Which is something that happens. But here, though, you need both. Right? There are bandings to it. There are bandings to it. Why am I complaining about Rated.io? I'm not. I don't know where you're getting that from. I actually think it works. I'm completely opposite. I understand why it exists, and I completely works. I actually think the system works. It's very counter to what people would like to happen in certain scenarios, but yeah, I'm not complaining about Rated.io at all. In fact, really like talking with them. One of the things people complain about in the video, the main complaint is the guys who are solo queuing. Again, we're coming back to this, in my opinion, playing the game in the most inefficient way possible. If you are solo queuing, and this is your preferred way of gearing, so you have to fall into kind of a niche, right? You have nobody to play with, so you're entirely playing World of Warcraft solo, and you only want to gear through Mythic Plus. So we're talking about efficiency. Like Nupss, for example. Nupss instantly recognized that Mythic Plus is massively inefficient if he's not in groups, known groups. Instantly swapped over to this PvP. Like, without a second thought. Like, why would I do this? I wouldn't do this. If I want gear, this is the way to go right now. Instantly swapped over. But then we have these... then there's a lot of people who don't raid. They don't want a PvP, which is totally fair, because I don't want a PvP either. But only want to do Mythic Plus, but they only want to do it on their own and on their terms, and that's when it hits the wall. That's when it hits the wall. I think a lot more people than you realize in the solo category. Right, but that doesn't change how things are right now, right? I don't know why you think I think that. I don't get that. I don't know why you think that. At no point did I say there's very few people playing solo. I don't know where that comes from. I think that is... Honestly, I hear that a lot, and I don't know where that comes from. I have no idea. I really don't. It doesn't change that if you are playing something solo, that it's inefficient. It's a very weird thing that gets thrown at me, and I think you're projecting onto me as what you think I say. I know it's a problem I set myself as doing M+ as early as possible. Yeah, getting in early is always the better. Same with getting curve as quickly as possible. A lot of people don't fit in with a lot of groups. I've joined a ton of guilds, and there are always some weirdos who are elitist or homophobic or otherwise political. So like a lot of people who want to play solo. That depends on the guild entirely. I wouldn't give up. Because there are plenty of guilds out there that are absolutely not homophobic or political, where that kind of discussion is completely banned, right? And we're not talking about reaching immediate endgame, which is often where we get stuck as well. I was reading some comments yesterday of people who are like, well, I only play 2 hours a week. How am I supposed to get 226 gear? Are you? I think that's a reasonable question to ask. Like, are you expecting to play an MMO 2 hours a week and get 226 gear? Is that an expectation that you should have? Because I don't think that's an expectation you should have. Like, it should be something you should be getting right now. I don't think that's a reasonable expectation, personally. I don't care if they do, but I don't think it's a reasonable expectation. Yeah, I think solo play is... I don't say solo play is garbage. I see the appeal of it. There's a lot of things I want to do in WoW that's solo stuff, but I don't know. It's just my mentality. I'm not raiding right now. I don't expect my character to advance at all. I think that would be kind of weird if it did. It's kind of stuck. It's kind of hard stuck, and I'm okay with that. But I mean, he's high geared, so it doesn't really count. But I can't get into the mindset of I have this very small window of playing an MMO, but I still kind of expect to get the best things out of it. I don't see that working. I wouldn't compare it to work either, because it's not work. It's your hobby. It's your game, right? But I would apply that to every single game outside of single player games. Like if I only had 2 hours a week or 2 hours a day to play something like The Witcher, a single player game, I would expect eventually to get the best gear, right? That makes total sense to me. If I was playing Apex or League of Legends or any multiplayer online game and I was playing a couple of hours here and there, I do not expect to get the best stuff by any means, or to be extremely good at it either. Should be getting gear by your skill and not by time spent in game. I think time is a terrible metric of MMO gaming, MMO gearing, because I play a lot less than a lot of people, right? I play a lot less. Even when raiding, I play a lot less, despite what I do. But I don't log in unless I specifically have something to do, and then I immediately log out because that's how I always play games. I don't log in to chill or to... I'm not somebody who's going to sit in trade chat talking to people, right? I'm certainly not going to sit in a Mythic Plus queue for 4 hours. That's never going to happen, ever. Like, it wouldn't have happened even if I was a super noob to this game. I would never have done that in my life. It's just insane to me that anybody would do that. Like, it's such a colossal waste of time. It really is. If you're queuing without a healer or a tank in the group, it's worse than DPS. Not counting your key for sure, I see a lot of people who don't want to list your own key. There's a fear in there, and we did talk about that tonight, actually, is panic. So there's going to be a guy in tonight's TDP when things get hard. Panic is a real thing. It's really hard to overcome, by the way, in World of Warcraft. It's something we talked about a lot in WoD during raid stuff. People really struggle to play under tough circumstances, which leads to maybe some of the bosses are too hard. I would give the prime example of that at the last boss in Plaguefall. So you have massive DPS, a massive healing requirement, even though it has been nerfed recently. You have these ads walking around, certainly in the last phase, and you also have to keep moving from the tentacles while doing all these damage and stuff. And a lot of people fall apart at that last boss. It's not uncommon to see a lot of people fall apart there. And it's really it is hard stuff, right? This is stuff we used to consider kind of hard raid boss stuff. It really is. We used to consider that kind of hard raid boss stuff. And it's now in dungeons. Whether or not that has gone to the stage where it's too hard, I'm not the best person to ask there. But it feels like it is. Because I watched a guy... and again, you'll see it tonight. And there's no disrespect to that guy, because I was there as well. But... completely fall apart when all that starts happening. And basically they get into that mode where they don't do any damage, they're just trying to survive. And you can almost feel the panic. You can feel it across... I can feel it in the group, like the absolute panic. That all I want to do is live. And usually you panic so much that you die. And that's really tough. I'm so gutted I wasn't in this group. You're not, Finn. You would have been raging. You would have been raging. You would have been absolutely fucking raging. But panic's a real thing. Panic's a real thing. It totally is. I don't think it's too hard. It's hard for... How can I say? Like, do you know, it's kind of ridiculous that people would ever ask someone like me, or Gingy, or Limit Max, or THD, or whatever, if something's too hard. We're the absolute worst people in the world to ask that question to. Like, it's so fucking dumb to ask somebody who's been playing this game for over a decade if something's too hard. I have no fucking idea. I really don't know. I try and find out, but it is so fucking stupid to ask us. Because we don't know. We have no idea. Absolutely no idea, right? You can't go to Echo, you can't go to Echo or Limit and ask if a raid boss is too hard. They're the best of the best in the world, right? Like, it's so mental to ask those dudes if it's hard. Like, anybody who is like, I'm not comparing myself to them. They are better than me, certainly these days. But it's a case of asking opinions on people who've been playing this game at the highest level for like 15 years. Like, no, you can't. You can't compare. There's no way you can give a realistic answer. It's so impossible. Best of the best with honors. Too hard means math. Yeah, exactly. Too hard for them means mathematically impossible, right? Too hard for them means mathematically impossible. I'm looking at if I see a lot of people panicking and struggling like I see at the end of Plaguefall, that's probably too hard at that point. It's probably too hard. You can't only ask to scrubs too, otherwise you'll have a shitty game in the end. Hard to say, because World of Warcraft's got a tough job, and I can't wait to speak to the devs again. You have a combination of people who've played the game for 15 years and turned the game into an absolute science, right? An absolute science. To the guys who've just picked it up in the last couple of expansions, who are still learning and creating content that works for both. You got to imagine how hard that is. So sometimes it's going to swing too hard, too easy, right? That's going to happen. I don't get that mad about it. I'd be disappointed if like a raid is too easy, but I'm not surprised. Like, it's got to be so fucking hard to do that, dude. So hard. Never really panicked an M+ either because I'm too carefree. Hey, whatever it is, what it is. Yeah, the spectrum of players is enormous. It really is. Again, our surprise yesterday wasn't that Raider.io was the clear winner. We expected that going in. That's what we said at the start of the video. We were surprised by how dominant it was, like universally. That was what surprised us there, and understandably so. Play TBC Classic? No thanks. Panic does go away with experience and confidence, but where does that come from? And that comes back to the knowledge thing, right? So many players are so afraid of asking questions for fear they'll be kicked. And I think that a lot of I imagine, if you were being honest, how many of you here have not really understood what was going on, but don't want to ask for fear you'll be labeled a noob, potentially kicked out of the group. All those reasons, right? Where you're like, if I ask what's going on, it's the old thing, isn't it? At this point, I'm too afraid to ask. Right? And it's so important. And it's one of the things, I mean, I'm fine with taking a lot of shit on stream. It's whatever, right? I don't fucking care. It comes with the job. But when I'm sat here, and I'm very fortunate, and I'm not in a bubble, I understand that I can say, ask MDI players to come and do a fucking Mythic Plus for a giggle, right? If I'm confused, I will more than happy ask. And instantaneously, when I ask on stream, or I ask the group, hey, why is that happening? Almost immediately in the chat is someone giving me shit about asking. Right? They're giving me shit. How do you not know this? Right? And this our YouTube video yesterday is a prime example. How the fuck don't you know this? Right? Aren't you the YouTube guy? You should fucking know this, right? You know what I mean? It's immediate. Absolutely immediate if you ask a question like that. And it's difficult because it's the case of, at least for me, and I think this video proved that, is the idea is, if I know it, and I'm not talking about me personally, I'm talking about everybody. If it's knowledge you have, for some reason, the expectation is, well, everybody knows that. Right? That's the expectation. The expectation fucking is that if I know something, then of course everybody knows that thing. And if you don't know that, then you're a piece of shit. You're a scrub. You're a pleb. You're an absolute fucking moron. Because no one asked when we wiped that thing. There was like, oh, we have low DPS or whatever. And then I think it's a great thing to overcome is the lack of fear of looking stupid. It's totally fine to look stupid. It's gonna be fine. Preheats lawyer laughing my ass off. As soon as there's 20 keys, oh, it's going too fast for me. It's hard. When I do a hard key at high level the first time, but I don't let it, as I see running out of time. Yeah, I mean, how many people do you think? It's one of those things, right? YouTube is heavily manipulative, right? Do you think when I put up a background video of a raid boss or whatever, you think I'm not going to choose the pull where I'm doing pretty well and not the one where I fucked up and like disengaged off the platform, right? So a lot of people will probably it's the simple thing, right? How many times do you watch Gingy's team deplete keys, right? That would be fun. It wouldn't, because people have no context of that. People want to see the kill, right? It's no different than watching the world first kill video only and going, this boss looks easy. It's no different than that. This boss is easy, dude. Did you see Limit kill Denathrius? So fucking easy. All you do is you avoid that red shit on the floor and the boss just dies, bro. Just dies, like, straight away. Like, how can you not do this? Stone Legion Generals? You just AoE a bit. Like, it's so easy. It's fucking so easy. And you see that all the time as, wow, this was easy. You know what I mean? It's kind of rough that you see it that way. You don't see the... and that's kind of why I like the World First race these days. You see that 300 wipes to get there. I see more higher skill players ask questions. Yes. Yes. Yeah, generally speaking, higher skilled players ask more questions. It's a synergetic process. But I don't blame the guys. How many of you have been kicked because you asked a question? Has it ever actually happened to you? Because I can't test that, obviously. That'd be crazy. But knowledge is power, always. Certainly in World of Warcraft. So a mix, but it has happened to some people, which is terrible, right? It's terrible. Now, it depends on the question. Like, did you ask where the dungeon is and get lost inside the dungeon forever? I don't know. Or did you ask, like, oh, why did that happen? Yeah, you know, why did that happen? I haven't, because I haven't asked the question. Yeah. I haven't, because I asked the question. Kind of tricky. Yeah, why did I die? I think is always the important one. Why did I die? Because most of us don't know why we died when we died to something, right? Why the fuck did I die? Unless it's very obvious. Why did I die there? Why did I die? Such a big question. I only kick when people say, how are you, team? What are we doing in this dungeon? Because they're usually high. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Don't rage, be better. Yeah, JB rages more than anyone else in my life. Toxic shit like this happens more in lower keys. I have found that as well. Again, we've had a lot of shit, or I've noticed a lot of shit coming my way recently for casually pugging 15s and 16s on videos. But we can't alter that result. Like, since I started the TDP in Legion, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, you would have known this in Legion. I wouldn't have. I didn't struggle with groups there, and eventually I could get groups. It's not the end of the world to sort it out. But since I started it, I was expecting, I'll be honest with you, the TDP, when it started, my impression was I'm going to have a load of runs and dungeons which are colossal nightmares, and it's going to be really fun content. It was like the most basest YouTuber clickbaity bullshit ever. I'm not going to lie, it totally was. But that's what we thought. It's like, oh, what we'll do is we'll make a show called The Daily Preach, where all I need to do is run a dungeon, and it'll be full of fucking clowns and circus acts. It'll just be like going to the fair every single day, and it's free content, because all I was reading was how bad Mythic Plus was, right? Like, it was all the time. That's all the information I'm getting from outside of my own experience. It's an absolute nightmare. Yet, through the hundreds and hundreds we've done, the success rate is easily over 95%. Like, easily. Fine. Absolutely fine. But, as the old story goes, no one's taking to the forums to write about their successful Mythic Plus. They're not doing that. No one's like, oh, I just had a, you know, I better go to the WoW Reddit, or I better go to a Mo Champion, or I better go to the WoW forums and say, dudes, I just did a Mythic Plus pug and it went totally fine and we did okay, right? That no one's doing that. That's not what you're hearing about. But that seems, in my experience, is the overwhelming thing is that's what's happening. There's no sort of breakpoint success between 14s and 15s. We can do more testing. The thing we did yesterday was a YOLO thing, just to have an interest of what was happening. And from it, we got a lot of curious information. I really am genuinely curious about the meta and how skewed it is. Certainly after we've just had the first MDI. But it makes me kind of sad as well. I want to make video. I like making videos that should make you better. Like right now, off the back of what we did this week, I can make a whole series of not just how to boost your IO score, but how to learn what dungeons do to get this better. Because one thing I can say is there is a small yet very vocal part of my audience who is stuck here, right? Who are in this world where they're absolutely hard stuck. Like, how many of you here right now are fucking hard stuck at, say, Mythic Plus 10, and you just can't break through, no matter what you do? Are like completely hard stuck at that environment. And I fully understand why you are. I fully get it. Okay, so there's plenty of you who are stuck in that environment. Firstly, I'm going to say I'm sorry that our experience when we do TDPs, 15s and 16s, looks easy. I'm also going to say this, and this is not meant to piss you off. It is easier at 15 and 16. This bracket here is just nightmare fuel. Like absolute nightmare fuel. This is gasoline all over your... Plus 10 is hell on earth. This 10s and 11s are hell on earth. If I wanted to make a ton of money right now, I could just fucking run 10s and 11s all day and just have the worst time of my life. But breaking through that, that's not easy because it's all easy. Fight me. I haven't done any checking in the 8s and 9s. Finn probably has more accurate data there when he was doing his druid. But this is the hard point. Because this is where two things are happening here, right? This is where a lot of people are. This is where their gear has stopped carrying them. And this is where knowledge takes over. And there's a lot of people who don't want to gain that knowledge. Now, my fear with trying to help with this... I'm just talking about future... This is what we talk about in meetings. Like, how are we going to tackle this? I almost feel like it doesn't matter if I arm, say, 400,000 people with the knowledge. Let's assume everybody who subscribed to my video watched this video. That's like how to get past 10 and 11, right? We've got this nice video, how to get past the 10 and 11 barrier, and everybody watched it. I'm not sure how much of a dent it would make, because as we've shown in this plus 10, one person having the knowledge doesn't help. And if you're just solo playing and you're not playing with the same people, you might gain that knowledge. And I think that's what's happening. It looked that way to us anyway. You gain the knowledge. So you now have the knowledge that should enable you to do 14s and 15s relatively simply. But because you're solo queuing, you go right back to here and you're with another 4 people who don't have that knowledge. So you can't get past. Because it doesn't matter if you get the knowledge, because you're going back into another random pool of people that don't have the knowledge. So what does it matter? And I think this is the frustration that I read on the forums, which is like, if people asked me, I could tell them every aspect of this dungeon, right? We see that all the time on forums. If the group leader whispered me, I could tell him every detail of every mob in that dungeon and how it works. Cool. It doesn't matter, because the next group you're going to be right back here again. Next group you're going to be right back here again. It doesn't matter if you have the knowledge of 20s. It doesn't matter if you sit and watch the MDI players all day and you know the ins and outs of the perfect route, the perfect pull. You're one guy in 5. You're 20% of the equation. And you've got to keep going back here because you're not playing with other people who are also gaining that knowledge. You're not moving up together. That's what guild progress is, right? And team progress. You move up together. You don't go back to the start every time you finish. So I don't know how to tackle that problem. Genuinely. I'm not really sure. I'll have you know I've watched 2,000 hours of Jimmy's stream. 20% is better odds than you being bad and not knowing. It is, but it doesn't get you past the barrier. Certainly if you're doing, because this is paired up with boosting your rated IO score, you need successful runs to do that, right? What you want is timed, successful runs. While you have a 20% chance of being okay, it's not enough to get you through, to get where you want to be. That's the difficult part. So I do want to tackle this. I do want to tackle this. Fucking hard though. It's fucking hard. Yeah. Well, which is what we saw when I listed my key, is people saying I need this timed because I need to get that score even 10 higher, 15 higher, 11 higher. You know, I need to just get the score that little bit because that separates me from the underlying bit. I need that little bit more to get me above those guys. A lot of knowledgeable people aren't particularly skilled though. Maybe they know more than others. That happens, but I mean, it's not a universal standard. I don't think so. Yeah, we went over the legendary buffs. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we went over them this morning. What's a good score to have? I'm not showing my elitism. I don't know. What is a good score to have? I have no idea. How do I answer that question without getting someone shitting on me? Yeah, I don't know. You don't? Yeah, I'm not answering that. I'll let the audience answer that question. I don't know. I generally do invite whoever's the first to join my queues because I have no intention of stacking the group for anything. If I'm fortunate that if my dungeons go badly, it's still a win for me. Right? Either I get a video where I get to talk about a topic, or a stream. You know, whatever happens, if my dungeon goes really well, we'll have a different conversation. If my dungeon is an actual clown fiesta of sharks eating fucking babies, like it's just a nightmare, then I win either way, unfortunately. So it's one of those. The crux of the argument is the skill variance is too high to cater to all. At least the MMR rated games, you'll always be in your bracket. Here's the question, Bailey. It's a good point. But this is a real question, and I don't know the answer. But it's going to sound like a horrible question. The people who are hard stuck at 10 at 11, is that their bracket? How many people are supposed to be there? Despite wanting to do 14s and 15s and things, but how many people in that 10 to 11 cesspool are supposed to be there? Right? That's a real question. Is that your MMR? Just that you don't like your MMR? It's impossible to tell. Like, if you're not gaining knowledge, let's say knowledge is everything, right? That's what we're talking about. That's why IO exists, because it gives experience, and the experience should be knowledge, etc., right? But you're stuck here. How many people in here, and I guess this is where it gets really hard, right? How many people in here, because you've got to assume, although M+ is probably not particularly popular right now, but let's ignore that for the sake of the conversation. How many people here, which you have to believe is the bulk, right, are probably hitting this wall. At this point in the expansion, you're probably hitting this barrier. Like 8s to 11s. You're probably in here somewhere. How many people are unknowledgeable in there and not willing to get through? And how many people have the knowledge to easily do 14s and 15s, but they can't break through? A poll's not going to help. We would have to sample like 1 million people to get an idea. And we'd have to trust 1 million gamers, to be honest. Have you ever tried trusting a gamer and an anonymous stream or a YouTube comment? Yeah. Like, how many people do you think are saying, actually, I totally belong to be stuck in 10s and 11s? Not many people are going to say that. Not many people are going to say, on reflection, I never learn anything about my dungeons. I hope the rest of the group is doing what they're supposed to do. And that's basically my contribution is I'm going to hit what's in front of me, and I kind of just hope it goes well. Right? Not many people are going to say that. And not many people probably believe they're even doing that, for the most part. I feel attacked. I'm not attacking. It's just like, it's real, right? Real talk. I think we're skipping over the fact that M+ is inherently designed to be used with voice comms as well. There's a fair argument for that, as they've now put it in the game. And voice comms have become such a base functionality of gaming in general. Well, it's hard to say, because we still have a lot of audience members who are very, very understandably do not want to talk on voice comms. I don't blame anybody for not wanting to talk on voice comms. At all. I do not blame anybody for that. Like, I'm comfortable with it now, but I certainly wasn't originally. Can you compare MMR to radio.io score? Because in games, if you do, your MMR rises, not the radio.io though. You'd be the best player in 10 and still can't get higher MMR. I think it's a reasonable comparison. Like, it's a group-based activity. Yeah. I won't blame you, but you're not joining my 16. Yeah. And for the most part, you need to listen to voice comms. I mean, you can't win that, right? It's not. I don't consider a lot of the reasons, like, I'm not making a guild app because it takes 2 hours. By the way, I'll sit 2 hours in a Mythic Plus dungeon queue. I have to be on voice comms, but I'm not listening. Like, it's so childish, I'm not going to entertain it. Like, it feels incredibly childish. It feels like something my kid would say. It really does. Oh, they forced me to be in voice comms. Not listening to that, though, mate. I'm gonna blast my fucking heavy music or whatever. Like, you can't beat that. That's a personal thing. That's a personality issue. Guild is the answer. It is, but we also got accused a lot. Nupss actually raised this point very well. It's like, we can't just keep saying in every video, find a guild. And he's right. He's right. If you haven't got the message by now from our videos that your life is so much better finding some friends to play with, then you're not going to get that message, right? You're not going to get that message. Finding a couple of people to play with, you're not going to get... If you haven't got it by now, if you are instead opting... This is really hard to say, because I know I'm going to get so much shit, but whatever. But if you are instead opting, for whatever reason it might be, to entirely live and die by the rules of solo pug gaming, me telling you to get a guild is not going to help you. And to find friends is not going to help you. Like, there's no way. I might as well be telling you to build the Eiffel Tower. Right? I can encourage some people to say... But I can tell you all day this is bad, right? I can tell you all day this is a horrible way to play. I would never play this way. I don't get why people would do that. I don't get why I read comments of, like, I'm sat in queues for hours, and nobody gives me a chance. I don't know why you're doing that. I hope you wouldn't. But if that's how you're playing, that's how you're playing. And that's up to you to do so. I don't think they should stop playing, because WoW does a really... I mean, why do we love World of Warcraft, right? Let's be honest. Like, the reason we love it is it's basically 20 different games that are all done reasonably well. I would personally only say it does high-end raiding better than anyone else. But other than that, it's an okay Pokemon game. It's an okay PvP game. It's an okay open world game, right? It's really kind of good at all of those different areas. And now they've got roguelite built in there. Like, if you really wanted to play the best of the best RPG, it's not World of Warcraft. If you wanted to play the best online multiplayer PvP game, it's not World of Warcraft. But it does them pretty well. It does them really, really well. That's why we love it, because we could dip our toes into all these different things with different characters. With our same character, right? We could do all this kind of cool stuff. But I would never... I would never suggest, well, you shouldn't play the game because you don't like playing it in a certain way. But I would also say, with the back of that, you should temper your expectations of what you should get. If you're going into... If I'm going to go pick up, say, Apex right now, and I'm going to solo queue the whole way, I'm not expecting to be a top-tier player, by any means, because playing with other people is what pushes you. That's just universally true. I think you're misunderstanding. Finding a guild isn't hard, but most people play a solo because they have social anxiety. They do. Yeah, they do. I can't help that either. Like... I was of the egotistical, narcissistic view that maybe I could help with that, and we spoke to psychologists. It was like, I went and spoke to a psychologist, and I was like, look, I have this audience of people who has social anxiety. I've met them, right, and they've been so fucking brave in coming to, say, PreachCon or to BlizzCon and coming to talk to me, although they're clearly struggling so fucking hard to come and say hello, but they've overcome it, and, you know, they're shaking. The amount of people that I talk to at these events who are physically shaking and uncomfortable, and I try and ease it, is incredible. It's staggering to me. And I said, is there anything I could do? And the response was, absolutely fucking not, because everybody's got social anxiety for different reasons. You can't just, there is no band-aid fix that certainly some cunty YouTuber from Manchester can put out that's got to fix that. What you can do is be a complete debate monster and just go, just talk to people, lol. Right? And there you go, there's your social anxiety gone. You know? I can't do that either. I can't do, that's, it's a terrible condition. It's a terrible condition. Yeah, just make friends, lol. Right? Yeah, it's not a thing. I can't help it. There's nothing I can do about that. That doesn't, but also, doesn't change this. Because that's what shocked us. That it was so prevalent. So prevalent. So prevalent. Me and a couple of mates were terrified of coming to meet you at Blizzcon, but we did it. I have to thank you for being so nice. Oh, thank you very much, Remelem. I try. It's not strange for me at all. Like, it's totally fine. It really is. I try and be as relaxed. I mean, I can usually tell if someone's uncomfortable, so, you know, we'll take it easy. I try to be as welcoming as I possibly can, right? Gamers in general range from the Giga Chads, who are, like, trying to carry the poon around, to people who've never been to an event like that. So you turn up at an event with, like, what, 50,000 people or something? It's really intimidating. It's intimidating for me. It's intimidating for me walking up to that fucking place, man. Fucking totally is. It's totally intimidating. So, yeah, I totally get it. I absolutely get it. Yeah, PreachCon is 50,000 people. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then I give them all balls to throw at me. It's kind of mistakes were made, right, Benji? As a metric, I'm never going to change my mind on that, I don't think. Rated.io is a good system. It works. It definitely has problems, but it works. I don't think people are missing that it's multiplayer. It's just that they prefer to play solo, which is fine. But there's also, it's a mix of both, right, Kara? There's an expectation and an entitlement that comes with, I'm going to play solo, and genuinely a lot of what I read yesterday of the anger, they were very angry and bitter comments. Very few, by the way, and I want to be clear on that. It was a very small proportion of the people who watched that video who felt that way, but they're very loud and very angry, which is understandable. But there's a combination of this sucks, but everything should change to accommodate me. Although it works for a hell of a lot of people. That's the thing. It works for a hell of a lot of people. And rightfully so, it does work. Yeah, it does work. Again, it's like, change how? Is it understandable? Is it a game? Yeah, well, people are really passionate about World of Warcraft, or any game. If you're sending death threats to the guy who nerfed your sniper rifle in COD by 0.2%, yeah, it's understandable. It's not surprising to me anyway. I think it sucks. Like, it's like, how rosy do you want the garden to be? Should it be a case of you could go into World of Warcraft, right, or any game, click Q on whatever it is you want it to be? This is kind of what I'm trying to picture in my head about what some people are asking to happen. I log into World of Warcraft. I decide whatever it is I want to do. I want to do a plus 15 today. And then I click a 15 and say go. And I go in and it wins and everybody's happy. I kind of want to do heroic raiding. I want to get curved today. So I'm going to go home. I'm going to open the thing. Click Q on heroic. Get in. And then it wins. What? I don't get that. I just don't get how you can think that's probably going to happen. There's a lot of people having trouble analysing their play. Yeah, Jupiter. They don't know what they did wrong. Yeah, tonight's video is a perfect example of that. Like, they had no idea what was causing the problems. And it was hard to tell, by the way. So the game can be better at that. And I don't think we've really brought that up at all. The game can be better at explaining why you died. It would be nice if that was in there somewhere. Like, even if, and we suggested this probably a few years ago, there was a personal tips system that came up if your group wipes. Because people are ashamed to use stuff like that. And I've considered making an add-on that automatically does it. So let's, for example, in this Plaguefall where we wiped on the boss because the slime was too close, if I could create a weak aura that detects if your group wiped there, and then if your whole group wipes there, it then just pops up with like, you just wiped. Perhaps it was because of this. Like a little, like a tooltip. That's a personal thing. You don't have to tell anybody you're using it. Because again, people are ashamed to ask questions. And it just came up with like just a thing that you can have if you want it or not. Right? I don't care if like 10 people use it. But for people who would do that, I think that might be a good idea. Because one thing we're trying to overcome, like we talked about earlier, is people are afraid to ask questions because they're going to get judged, and some pleb in the group is going to be like, "Oh my god, this guy doesn't know what the fuck's happening." So they don't ask any questions, and there's probably a way of like solving that privately, so it doesn't matter, right? Like you can ask the question to the add-on almost, right? And people will laugh at them, and I don't think it matters. I think it's an add-on you want. If you want it, then get it. Sounds hard to make. I don't think it's that bad. It's based on, like, you would have a command like, the boss ID, encounter ended, everybody dead, right? It should be something simple like that then pops up a little text box. Something like that. Something simple. And I have no doubt for some people it would then be like, after, because it's only something that works once, right? Yeah, it only works once, because once you've had that tip, you probably want to disable it. So you'd have to make a very easy, like the you know, the WoW pop-up fucking thing, where you're just like, yeah, I know I can get a map. Go away. I don't need any more tips ever. So it's only useful the once, but I think once is enough, right? At that point, the group has a 50% chance of disbanding. Not true. Not true. Some groups disband after a wipe, but it's not 50%. No, I would have. I mean, my evidence is the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pugs I do. Do people complain about arena rating the same way they do about rated.io? I wouldn't comment. I don't dabble in PvP at all. I have no idea what goes on there. Yeah. I assume if you're seeing high disband rates, your entire group is dedicated to boosting their .io score, right? That's all they're there to do. Yeah, I don't want to comment on PvP because I don't know shit about PvP. I don't know a fucking thing. I don't know a fucking thing. I stay well away from it. It's not my jam. I don't enjoy it, so I don't want to comment on it. Any complaints? It's not official from Blizzard's. Well, as I've said a few times, I think Blizzard is really, really happy with Rated.io taking the brunt of their anger. Right? Look at it from Blizzard's point of view. Does the add-on do what it's supposed to do? Yeah. Does it pretty well, actually. Like, it's got flaws for sure, but as a quick metric of putting groups together, looking at whether or not people have done it, yeah, it does its job effectively. If it didn't exist, would there be some replacement? Yeah, because this existed years ago, right? Once Gear Score arrived, there's no turning back. You can't put Pandora back in the box. It was out. People started judging each other with a nice quick score metric. That's never going away. You could kill Rated.io tomorrow, and there would be Rated.bio the next day, right? And Rated.io works really hard. Like I say, we talked to them. Rated.io is awesome people. They're really, really good people who are looking to do their best and try to get good information for people. It's always going to have flaws, but they're working really hard. Like they're really good people. That's why we work with them and get information from them, because they're bang on. And I'm very fortunate to have sat and talked with them. I know they're good people, you know, actually have a drink with them. And Blizzard doesn't get any of the shit. All the shit about this kind of stuff. I mean, let's not forget, Blizzard put the item level thing into the game. You remember when that came in? That wasn't always there. Because item level is a dog metric. It's absolute dog shit. And we all laughed our ass off. And I'm not sure whether it was Kata or WoD where they put that big fucking item level thing at the top of your character pane. And we were like, bruh. Bruh, they've just put gear score into the game. Right? That's what they were doing. They just put it into their game, their own little system. They did exactly that. They put it in and they got laughed at and all sorts of stuff. Right now, Rated.io takes all the shit. Blizzard looks all innocent and happy, and it kind of works. So I think I personally think it's a win-win all round. Was that because Gearscore was lagging raids? No. No, Gearscore was fine. Gearscore, I mean, I assume Gearscore was as widespread as Rated.io is now. At least I found out when I did some pugging in Wrath of the Lich King, and people were like, how did you get such a high gear score? I was like, I have no idea what my gear score is. I have no idea. Yeah, people were expecting me for it. It's never going away. The problem is Rated.io is coming to need. It's ridiculous that an add-on is needed to even play the game. I mean, that argument makes sense. But again, I think Blizzard's okay with it. How many people do you think play with no add-ons? Like, percentage-wise of the player base? Like, actual just base default. I think it's pretty low. Right? I think it's pretty low. So that argument kind of loses weight that it kind of loses weight when you're playing. It's certain add-ons, you know? It's like, where do you draw the line? I need an add-on to play. Do you play with add-ons, though? Yeah, I do. Okay. More than you think? Maybe. I can't tell. I can't. There's no way of us checking, but my gut instinct is it's probably pretty low that aren't playing with, like, UI modifiers and all that kind of stuff. It's one of the... I mean, there's a reason our UI gets hundreds of thousands of downloads, right? There's lots and lots of people playing it. And across all the spectrum of people getting it. A little bit critty, yeah. It's like, I use DBM, I use weak auras, I use all this stuff. Why do I need X add-on to do this? Yeah, it's not a very strong case to be made, for sure. Make a poll on Reddit. There are a lot of casuals there. It's still... if you're on a forum, genuinely speaking, if you're on a forum or a subreddit, you're still in, like, a very niche part of the community. Usually slightly higher end. You see the extra for depleted keys post thing? No, I didn't see it, actually. There's a chance to get your DBM problem. Yeah, it's just below the stream. You can get it. Yeah, and again, it's getting honest answers. Right, I'm going to leave you anyway, because I feel like I'm fucking going to throw up. But it was a good talk. Yeah, there's a lot to consider there. There's a lot of good opinions. It's an awkward subject. I get why people are angry about it. I don't think we were wrong, though. I really don't. Yeah, it's nice, right? It's nice just having a chit chat. Not today. I've caught some sort of flu, and as we have Blizzcon tomorrow, I need to be not feeling like death for that. I assume I have whatever rocked Emma's world last week. But thank you all for a good chat. It's always interesting to have these chats, because we don't get to do it that often anymore. But BlizzCon is tomorrow. We will be around, all right? We'll be strong, powerful. And I'll see you then. Be awesome, dudes. Bye-bye.